A reporter for Fox News is in the hospital after he was hurt covering the war in Ukraine. The network says Benjamin Hall, who's a State Department correspondent, was injured outside of Kyiv. Fox News CEO Suzanne Scott released a statement that the network is working to find out more information about his condition and what happened. Scott went on to write, quote, "This is a stark reminder for all journalists who are putting their lives on the line every day to deliver the news from a war zone. This comes a day after journalist and filmmaker Brent Renaud died when he and a colleague, photographer Juan Arredondo, were shot by Russian soldiers in a suburb of Kyiv. Arredondo survived the attack and is recovering from surgery." Vladimir Putin's brutal assault on Ukraine and apparent indiscriminate attacks on civilians are now sparking growing allegations of war crimes. Hundreds of civilians have died since the war began, many in cities under siege like Mariupol, where the International Committee of the Red Cross describes the situation as apocalyptic. But the Biden administration has yet to officially declare those Russian attacks as war crimes. Joining us now, NBC News Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent and host of Andrea Mitchell Reports, Andrea Mitchell, with a look at the allegations, the evidence, and what's holding the White House back. And a warning, some of the images that we're about to see are very graphic. Andrea, what can you tell us?
Yeah, and this attack on journalists also, Ben Hall, my colleague at the State Department, we're all wishing for his quick recovery. This is just another example of what we're seeing is Russian attacks injuring or killing civilians, leveling apartment buildings. Most Western allies, most of our allies, have declared them war crimes, have asked for the International Criminal Court to investigate and to actually pursue war crimes, but the United States has not declared them war crimes, leading a lot of people to ask, what is the reason for that?
An air raid over Chernihiv, killing at least 47 people. Rockets striking the center of Kharkiv, and a preschool in northeastern Ukraine hit with illegal cluster bombs. Ukrainian civilians, including children, increasingly becoming the apparent target of Putin's forces. And as the world watches the death and destruction, allegations of war crimes are growing louder. With President Zelensky warning Russia's leaders, he said you will definitely be prosecuted for complicity in war crimes. The UN reports that at least 636 civilians have already died since Russia invaded, with the true toll sure to be even higher. Even those trying to flee finding death on the road to safety, with witnesses saying Russian forces are targeting civilians escaping through humanitarian corridors, including this deadly incident in Irpin, outside Kyiv. Under siege, civilians are trapped in Mariupol, where Russia shelled a maternity hospital, killing 3 people, including a young girl. And now this pregnant woman and her unborn child have died.
They shoot to the civil cars that are trying to escape from Mariupol. There is 350,000 people in mousetrap.
Russia has denied committing war crimes, instead claiming Ukraine is staging attacks and killing its own people, despite all evidence to the contrary. Under decades of international law, war crimes are defined as intentionally directing attacks at civilian populations or indiscriminately attacking civilians or civilian objects like hospitals, schools, and nuclear power plants. The Biden administration supports investigating and documenting potential war crimes, with the U.S. ambassador to the UN acknowledging bluntly what the world can see.
They constitute war crimes. They are attacks on civilians that cannot be justified by any in any way whatsoever.
The International Criminal Court has opened up an investigation, responding to requests from 39 countries, including France and the UK, for crimes against humanity and acts of genocide.
What we have seen already from Vladimir Putin's regime in the use of the munitions, in my view, already fully qualifies as a war crime.
Punishing Putin will be difficult, if not impossible. The International Criminal Court and the UN Security Council can take action against war criminals, but it is up to individual countries to enforce convictions. And Russia, like the US, does not recognize the ICC's authority. Russia can also veto any UN Security Council action. And the Biden administration wants to avoid labeling Putin a war criminal now, to preserve the chance of eventually negotiating with him for an end to the war.
So that is one of the reasons why the U.S. is so reluctant to call a spade a spade. They seem to want to preserve that deniability for Vladimir Putin so that maybe there could be some fruitful negotiation down the road. But it is causing consternation. And our allies, especially the Brits and others, our closest allies, are making it very clear these are war crimes and there needs to be accountability.
Well, yeah, you know, Andrea, though, again, the Biden administration and others have said, you know, it's one thing for a news host to call these acts war crimes, one thing for an opinion writer to do that. But if the United States does that, then Vladimir Putin, is he not in a position where he sees his future as being in a cage in The Hague next to Milosevic? So what does he have to lose? He might as well fight to the death.
I mean, that is the distinction. You're exactly right. The point is there anything that is going to persuade him not to fight to the death? Even nothing is going to deter him now, as isolated as he is. So that's been the conclusion, the assessment of all of our intelligence analysts. That's what we've been briefed by our allies as well. Nothing is going to stop him now that he has launched this war and done it so aggressively. And no amount of sanctions are going to slow him down. He has to just be driven into defeat by the extraordinary resistance of the people of Ukraine.
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.